Welcome to Rising from the Rubble, the podcast where we share real life stories of people who have faced life-changing events like burnout, redundancy, depression, and found a way to rise stronger than before. I'm your host, Maria Newman, and as a coach, I help individuals navigate life's toughest transitions. Whilst listening to this podcast, you'll hear inspiring stories and coaching insights that will empower you to reclaim your confidence, redefine your future, and rise from your own rubble. It's now time to sit back, relax, and enjoy listening to our episode. Hello, Kenny, and thank you for joining me today.
It's an absolute pleasure, Maria.
So, what makes your story meaningful to others?
To give them the opportunity to realize there is hope.
And who will benefit the most from hearing your story?
Various people in business, people who have got to a point in their life where they're not sure anymore and feel that maybe everything's just too much.
And what's the most important takeaway from your experience?
I am good enough.
And on that, Kenny, who are you and what is your story?
So who I am now is I'm very much a family man, beautiful grandkids, beautiful kids, my awesome wife for 27 years. I have to think sometimes. But other than that, I am a retired person who spent 29 years in the corporate world. I retired early at the age of 46 and became a coach because it was just something I could do that I didn't realize actually even existed. And now I coach businesses for them to get a little bit of perspective and guidance from everything I've learned in my life and some more.
So tell us about your story. Go back to the beginning, your childhood.
So I had a childhood that I had a narcissistic mother who was a pill popper, an alcoholic of a father, the youngest of 3 kids, and I was never good enough. My whole career, my whole childhood, I was always being compared to my middle sister. She was so good at everything. And being compared to my older sister who was always in trouble. So no matter which way I looked at it, I was never good enough. And from a young age, kind of decided, stuff you, I will do what I want to do so that I achieve what I want to achieve. For example, I was told I couldn't go play football, so I sneaked off and went to play football and used to walk home in the dark. And then I got a hiding with a wooden spoon, told I was going to get kidnapped. 101 other reasons, and I just said I wanted to play football. My whole life was like that. At school, I was the smaller kid. When I was in high school, I got told I was stupid and I would never become anything in my life. I got thrown out of mathematics and accountancy, and got told I should become a mechanic. And now anybody who knows me today will know, no, we don't want Kenny to touch anything that needs to be taken apart and repaired because it will not happen. It'll get taken apart but never put back together again. So me becoming a mechanic would never ever have worked. So I went off to art school and I studied art, and I was supposed to go off and do graphic design. And the night before I was supposed to go, I decided, nah, that's not for me. I can't imagine myself doing that for the rest of my life. So I ended up going into retail, and I started at retail, started at the bottom. And everybody told me, how can you go to retail? Retail's for people who aren't anywhere, etc., etc. And I thought, nah, I will prove you wrong and I will get somewhere. Became a manager of a first retail store at the age of 19 and grew up until became an area regional manager after 10 years. Left there and did all sorts of jobs we came back to Joburg. We were living in Polokwane. And then started a career with the company, and I spent 19 years with them. Started at the bottom as assistant manager, and eventually was running one of the largest companies in the country. and then ran the faucet company, and yeah, made enough money to retire at the age of 40. So yeah, don't tell me I can't do something, because I will.
So you did have quite a traumatic childhood, and although your experiences were there to bring you down, they obviously didn't. So allow us to get to know the younger Kenny. What was it like? How did you feel when you were a child being continuously told you're not good enough, you're not going to amount to anything?
It was it was weird because I didn't know any better. Okay, so yes, I realized that life wasn't the same when I would go and spend time at friends' houses and saw how they were treated. And, always would like say to my friends' moms, don't you want to adopt me type of thing. Um, left that out of the book. But like as an example, my ninth birthday, there was nothing for me. Nothing, there wasn't a gift, there wasn't anything. But my friend's mom took me to go and see a James Bond movie. And it was the first time I'd ever been to a cinema. And that whole experience was like, okay, so there is more to what I know. Um, when I was small, and I would say to my mom, I'm bored, I've got nobody to play with. She would say to me, well, if you hadn't given me German measles, I wouldn't have had lost your baby brother. It was things like that that got thrown in your face. And yeah, that's taken years to to overcome, to realize that it wasn't my fault. You know, how could I, as 2 years old, be responsible for that? Not my fault. I got German measles. Um, it's life, and it was always tough, you know, being pushed away. The only boy in the family, so I remember wearing clothes that were 3 to 4 sizes too small for me because there wasn't any money to buy. There was no hand-me-downs or anything like that coming around. And I still remember one Christmas morning when I got my first football. I still remember it as clear as day because that became my new best friend. I would spend hours and hours kicking the ball against the wall, to the point where all the coating of the ball came off, and that ball was just this raw leather, and it that was my life. That was my best friend. That was my escape from all the stuff that went on in the house. My mother always had headaches. Um, she was always taking tablets because she wasn't well. She would sit at the dining room table when we were eating and reading a book instead of talking to anybody. My dad would come home and fall asleep in the chair the moment he got home. But he used to go to the pub on his way home every night. So there was no bonding. It was a very lonely childhood. And when you asked for something, it was your own fault. Um, when you needed help with something, was go figure it out. Um, I only learned to write my name the day before I went to school, and my sister taught me that. So there was never any. At one stage, I could only speak Zulu. I could hardly speak English because I was being brought up more by the maid, the housekeeper that spoke Zulu. So we would communicate in Zulu. Um, so it was nothing that I didn't know any better, if you know what I mean. So it wasn't great. It was only as I grew up and I started getting older that I remember and realize what family life is supposed to be. When I married my wife, who comes from a family of 5 kids, they are so close. They don't go a day without talking to each other. And when I met her, it was like, why is your family always around? It's not normal, is it? And it's normal. That's how normal people live, not how we live. I mean, even till today, my one sister lives in New Zealand, and we kind of only touch base on birthday and Christmas. My other sister lives about 50 kilometers away, but that's weird because the two of us are very close. We became each other's support when we were younger. Um, if something's wrong, I know it and I'll phone her. If something's wrong on my side, she'll know it and she'll phone me. But we only talk to each other 2, 3 times a year. It's not much, but there is that bond that's there. And I think a lot of that bond was because neither of us were the favorite. My little sister was the favorite. So we had to put up with all the leftovers. Janet was always in trouble and Diane was always had it right. And I just weaved my way through it, trying to survive and stay out of everybody else's way.
So you clearly have become very successful in your career, and yet you started from a place of where you didn't have this support. Looking back on your childhood, what do you think your childhood taught you that you then have used during the rest of your life?
Choose what you want and go for it. It's as simple as that. When people tell you that you're not good enough to do something, and you grow up with that in your back of your mind. I mean, even till a couple of years ago, I would still go, am I really good enough for this? Am I good enough? And yes, you are. And if anybody learns anything, no matter who you are good enough for you. It doesn't matter what other people say. And yes, use things that people say about you to your own benefit. So people saying to me, you're not good enough, made me drive harder, made me prove to myself, if not anybody else, that actually I was good enough. Let's go back to art school when I was doing the paintings. I've hid them away for years. All my different artwork, I've hid it away. And only recently did I start taking it out again. And when people see it, they go, oh my gosh, that's beautiful, that's stunning. But I was almost ashamed of it, if that makes sense. And maybe that's part of the reason why I didn't go and do graphic design, because I believed I probably wouldn't be good enough. It's those things that eat away at you. So I think your question of what would I say to people is, you decide what you want, and it's up to you if you want to achieve it or not. And that's important, because if you're going to take everybody else's opinion, what's your opinion?
And was there a moment where you realized this, or has it been an evolution where it's just become a way in which you live, where you decide something and you go for it?
I think it's become an evolution of my whole life. And yeah, I make lots of mistakes, believe me wrong. Okay, there's stuff that I go for and it doesn't work out. But then you stop and you understand why. Unpack it. Okay, well, maybe I just went about it the wrong way. Let's relook at it. But it has evolved. And what I only realized recently, and I think writing the book was part of it, was to actually understand that I actually am good enough. Even until the point when I became a coach, I believed I wasn't good enough. And it was only when I got away from the franchise and went on my own did I start realizing, but wait a second, I can make a huge impact on people's lives here if I just do it my own way. Break the rules, be myself again. I was trying too much to obey the rules and sit within the generic, this is what a coach does, this is what a coach doesn't do. And I broke those boundaries and said, stuff it, I'm going to do it my way. And that, I suppose that's part of me about wanting to make a success out of it, was to break the rules. That 19 years with that one corporate company, I didn't do things the way everybody expected it to be done. I did break the rules, but I also got into a position where I could make the new rules. And we changed a lot, and we became it was a very entrepreneurial type corporate company where, new ideas were welcome, where different ways of doing stuff. I mean, I introduced the automated warehousing, the automated reordering of stock throughout the entire company, which was 180 odd stores. introduced the automation of ordering stock from all over the world, in cycles and all of that. So that was part of what I was doing there. So I was allowed to break the rules. I was allowed to say, don't tell me it's not possible. I'll find a way to make it possible. So I don't even know what the question was. I get carried away. But it is that. It's just something I've always realized. But when I was advised to write my story, and it wasn't to ever write it as a book, it was part of my own healing, because I'd got to a point where I realized that there were wounds deep down that were preventing me to be the best I can be, because it was always that self-doubt and, am I really good enough for this? Should I really have, who am I trying to fool? All of those things. And when I actually sat down and I started writing, it was a shock to me about how bad my life really was. Okay. Because you put it under the rug. You don't share it. You don't talk to people about it. But actually putting pen to paper actually made me realize that, wow, I've achieved a lot. Wow, I actually am good enough. And it was a healing process in itself. I actually got a message this morning from one of my old colleagues who had just finished reading the book. And he wanted to say thank you to me, because it's inspired him to continue writing his own. And it was when I saw his message come through, and it just said, "Hi, Kenny, I've just finished reading your book. Have you got time to chat?" And I thought, what's he going to ask something about the book that he thinks is wrong or whatever? And he just said, no, I wanted to say thank you. And I know he's gone through a hell of a life as well, but it's that. And like my words to him were, if that's the only difference the book made, I'm happy.
And I think the point you make there is beautiful, in the sense of, I mean, I've read your book, and you have been through so many ups and downs, definitely more ups and downs than the average person. And the fact that you took the opportunity of going, I went through this and I was still able to achieve X, Y, and Z. And as humans, rarely do we look back on our lives and acknowledge what we've achieved, because we achieve a lot in our lifetimes, and yet we just pass over them. It's like, oh, that's done, move on, next thing. Whereas when we've missed something, or if there's something wrong, we spend days, weeks, months dwelling about the thing, which actually we will have learned something from it, and then we need to move on. So I think you've said that really beautifully, that, we should spend time, no matter, what we've gone through in our lives, acknowledging our accomplishments, as opposed to just always looking forward and doing the doing.
100%. I mean, people have often said to me, if you could change, that classic saying, if you could change one thing in your life, what would you? I wouldn't change a thing, because it was those hardships, the tough childhood, the failures, the hidings with wooden spoons and Chinese chopsticks and God knows what else, that made me who I am today. Okay. I mean, my family means the world to me. I would do anything for any of my kids and my grandkids. They come first. That's something I didn't have as a kid. Being there in that supportive role, giving them guidance, listening to them is the big one. I wouldn't be who I am today, because that's what it's about. Everything that happens in your life, you have a decision you can make. You accept it for what it is and learn from it, or you don't. And if you don't, it will always come back around you when you least expect it.
And that is so important, such a good point, because you will keep on experiencing the same thing until you learn the lesson that you're supposed to learn.
You keep banging your head against the wall, you're going to hurt your head.
We need to, as people, we need to be awake. We need to see and experience life as opposed to walking around on autopilot and expecting stuff to change.
100%. You know, it's interesting. I was thinking yesterday being Sunday, weekends when we're not doing anything, don't know what to do. Yes, I've got my art, got my painting to do. But if there's nothing happening and I'm not feeling like painting, being creative, what is there to do? Because you take away the aspects that you're used to, like the family coming around, or you do something together as a family, or you go in somewhere, or you're doing something. So you get into this routine, or during the week, I'm coaching, I'm helping clients, I'm doing this, I'm doing it. And then suddenly when you've got nothing on, we sometimes don't know how to appreciate that nothing and just be. Okay. So what do? You want to go and put on a TV, or you want to read something? But how about just be? Just be present with yourself. And yeah, not everybody gets what you're doing. They might think you've been morbid or miserable, but in actual fact, all you're doing is being present with yourself and self-centralizing. And that is, if we all could spend more time doing that, the world would be a much better place.
I love that. And it's the fact that lots of people are uncomfortable just sitting and being silent, because then you can hear your thoughts, and our thoughts aren't always in our best interest. No. However, they're always telling us something, and then we have the choice on which ones we listen to and which ones we go, I've heard you, thank you, not for me.
I always say to people, our brains are amazing things, but it only knows what you feed it. So tell your brain the right thing, and it will remember that. Tell it the wrong thing, and it will remember that too. That if you believe you're not good enough and you keep telling yourself that, well, guess what? You won't be good enough. If somebody else is telling you you're not good enough, well, turn around and change it. Even if it is, I'll prove you wrong.
Wise words, very wise words. So as we start to wrap up this episode, I have two important questions for you. The first one being, what 3 things do you want our listeners to take away from this conversation?
1, you're always good enough. 2, follow your dreams. And 3, every day you wake up, you've got a choice. You can either have a great day, or you can have a bad day.
I know which one I'd choose.
I can talk an hour on that. So.
And then finally, people will be listening to this episode thinking, Kenny, he is amazing. He has lots of knowledge, lots of expertise. I want to learn more stuff from him. Make it easy for them. How can others connect with you?
ArcherInspirations.com. Just as simple as that. I'm on Instagram, well, all the platforms, social media. Just look for Archer Inspirations and you will find it.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you for your honesty and sharing with us your story.
My pleasure, Maria. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
You're welcome. And thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. Thank you for listening to Rising from the Rubble. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Also, remember to download your free life assessment. Just click the link in the description to get started. Take care, and remember, every setback is an opportunity for growth. I'll see you next time.